December 2021 is going to go back in time.
Rocket Ship will be running a Kickstarter campaign for Urban Animal Volume 2. Urban Animal, of course, is my webtoon with Justin Jordan. We have a fairly significant following, so we're very excited to bring the second volume out and put it in physical format for fans to enjoy. And I'm excited to talk about the planned Kickstarter campaign. If you guys have any questions or like, what possible stretch goals we have. I'm not sure who amongst you. I know Eric for sure has done a crowdfunder, but
yeah, I have too. I've done a few of them.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to talk about that, and we'll put the links in the description of the of this show. So links below.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks. We ran the Kickstarter for Volume 1 back in 2020, and 2020 being the year that it was, we successfully funded it with 666 backers. Take that number for whatever significance you want. But like it was a successful campaign, and it took a while to actually ship the books out, unfortunately, because of the pandemic and the paper shortages and stuff. But running the second campaign this year, 2023, I don't believe we'll be running into any of the same problems like paper shortages and shipping delays and stuff. So we're very excited, and Volume 2 will be collecting the second season of Urban Animal. So this book right here is it's like, I don't think it's actual regular trade paperback size, but it's like digest size, I would say, which is standard format for Rocket Ship stuff, or their translations from webtoon to physical books. But this right here collects 340 pages, which we're very proud of.
How did you set up the pages? Because these were originally done for webtoons, so they were like an infinite scroll.
Yeah, it was gonna be my question as well.
Handle
about it?
Did you handle translating the web to page thing?
I didn't do the actual nuts and bolts of like rearranging the panels, because when Volume 1 was being collected into physical format, I was working on Season 3 at the time. So how Rocket Ship works is that they handle the rearrangement of the panels in-house. Wow. And then once they have all of that sorted out, they send it back to me and whoever else is on the creative team for approval. So I'm pretty much very hands-on in how the pages are actually supposed to look, to make sure the beats are, the story pace is maintained, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And when necessary, I will draw panels that work better for the physical format that wasn't possible for the digital original, if that makes sense.
How much redrawing did you have to do? Is it pretty minimal?
Pretty minimal, I would say. Out of this whole collection, which is 300 plus pages, I did like 3 new panels just to fix things up, just to make it flow a little better.
Oh,
and
okay.
Also, it's also a matter of like rearranging certain word balloons, because obviously if you're reading vertical, it'll present different challenges when you read it in standard Z format, like in a comic book. Yeah. So we're actually pretty proud of the fact that Rocket Ship enjoys working with myself, Justin, and Micah, because before we hopped on over to Rocket Ship for the physical volumes, we had been the only comics professionals, so to speak, people who were working in comics proper, per se, that they had worked with. So we always had the high resolution files, which is, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but like, it's not true for all webtoon artists that they know exactly what files to prepare for print.
Very true.
But
very true.
Us working in the industry for 10 years plus at that point, we knew exactly the files to prepare, the resolution to prepare them in, and we had those files ready to go even before the campaign was even fulfilled. So we make it really easy for them.
This company, Rocket Ship, they handle running the campaign, and they also handle translating the webtoon format to the printed format.
Correct, and fulfillment as well.
Oh, they handle. Okay, awesome. Is your book the only webtoon they've translated to print, or is that a typical service they offer?
We're not the only one, but I believe they only offer the service. I guess they only sign books and titles that have a significant enough following on the webtoon platform. One of the big hits that Rocket Ship publishes is Let's Play, which is in the millions of readers and subscribers as well on webtoon. It's a rom-com about a game developer, I believe. But yeah, so we're not the only ones on there, but certainly we were among the first.
Okay,
gotcha.
Okay,
And in the, let's call it the translation between, from digital to physical, like I was wondering, like the panels, are certain panels gonna be enlarged and others shrink down and stuff like that?
Yeah, they're not all gonna be the same size that it was on the webtoon, because
it's not the same proportion between panels.
Yeah, exactly. Like we still want to maintain the same beats, but when you're working with a comic page, I guess, which has a different sense of real estate and gutter size, we want to actually enlarge certain panels and minimize certain panels just so it flows in a certain way. And that's why I bring up, like, we always have the high resolution files, and that's valuable because we can resize everything to our specific needs. And I draw digitally, and I draw everything in 600 DPI specifically for that reason. So we can use it however which way, or repurpose it for whatever later on.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're doing that crowdfunding campaign, which should be running now when this episode goes live. I hope it's successful. We feel good about it.
I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
I was just wondering what your crowdfunding experiences have been like, because I've never run my own campaign per se. We have the benefit of Rocket Ship running this for us.
Right, that's what I was going to ask. Eric knows the crowdfunding intimately. I've done it as well. I liked doing it so I could learn from it, and I'm probably going to do it again. But each time I do it, I'm learning more and more how to run it, and how to launch it, and how to pre-launch it, and how to build it. And there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's a job, right, Eric?
I'm sorry, we're 13 minutes in. I'm not even paying attention to this conversation. I'm literally...
Why are you here? Why is he here? Why is he here?
Well, my experience
something rocket ship, something urban animal, something vertical scroll. Continue.
Eric,
go ahead.
Just mute yourself. We'll be okay.
Listening.
Stand by.
My experience with Kickstarter campaigns is limited because I just kickstarted 2 of my art books, so I don't have a lot of knowledge on that end. Also, for me, it's always weird because not being a U.S. citizen, I cannot launch my own campaign in the States. Like, I can use the Italian Kickstarter, but in that case, it would be an Italian campaign, not it would be on Kickstarter.it, not .com or whatever. So, so every time I gotta use, I need somebody that runs the campaign for me. So
in the States.
In the States, yeah. Or another thing that I was thinking about, since my next project, I'm thinking about maybe at the beginning doing it with a crowdfunding platform, at least, if not specifically Kickstarter. I'm looking for how to open like an LLC or something in the States, being an Italian citizen. I think it's possible. I mean, I know it's possible. It's kind of complicated, but I can't do that. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my.
Matteo's flexing his success right now.
Yeah. I can sense it.
I've got all the money. I've got all the monies. I'm gonna open a corporation in another company in another country.
It's actually like a process. You need somebody there, and you need a physical like address for the company, and a person who represents the company in the States for
Yeah, you
whatever,
can use,
for
you can use
paperwork
my
and stuff.
studio.
Yeah.
You can use my studio. I got you. You know, also Ramon, speaking of Kickstarter campaigns, Ramon Perez over at Raid, they offer a service. Well, they'll run the campaign and fulfillment, and they also have a means of shipping from Canada, where they like a truck drives the books into the States and mails it to the U.S. Customers from the U.S. So it saves in shipping, because that's one thing I'm sure you'd get murdered on if you did an Italian campaign, Matteo, is the shipping would just, you'd turn away a lot of buyers because the shipping would probably be as much as the book, if not more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the same thing goes when I do a campaign in the States. Like, I don't remember for what I did it, but like shipping to Italy, like I have people that want to see my stuff in Europe, like in Italy, Spain, and France, especially. What the fuck are you laughing at, asshole?
I have people.
Not
people.
I'm talking about the other, that asshole. So
the one above you.
I was about to say I have a lot of fans, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get because I have people that want to see my stuff. So and people were contacting me and they were like, what the fuck, like shipping is more expensive than the product itself. So I have that problem on the other hand, but the majority of people that want to see my stuff is in the States. So I gotta do if I have to do a campaign, I gotta do it in the States. And in Italy, I don't know about the States, but in Italy, like distribution, like is super expensive. If you want to have an official product and have it distributed through the traditional channels, you can say goodbye to 50% of the cover price. I don't know if it's the same in the States.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's 50%.
I've never used. Jesus, Eric, was that your experience?
I'm sorry. I lost track of
Oh
what
my
Mattteo was
God.
talking about.
today?
What
are you doing today? Are we bothering you?
How many of his fucking fans are
we were talking about
trying to buy his book, and it's too expensive
seriously?
for him to.
And you,
these
buddy,
fucking
are
people
in
talking
third
about
place,
themselves. No, I don't mind. I was very open about how much I don't care.
I can tell.
Okay, continue talking. Something experience. Something.
Shawn, you did a Kickstarter, right, Shawn?
Yeah, I've done I think 3 at this point. I haven't handled fulfillment because I did on one. My art dealer, I've done 2 for art books, and our art dealer Jason has handled fulfillment on those. And then I did one for Inkpulp Instruction, where I handled fulfillment. But it was, this was basically what people were ordering, just a little thumb drive. So those were easy to like get a bunch together and just ship out. I didn't have to spend a lot of time packing up books and stickers and a bunch of merch stuff. I didn't mind it. In fact, I'm thinking with my next art book, just handling that on my side too, just to learn from it and do it. But I have my kids I can put to work. But yeah, is that one of the main reasons you went with this company, was so you could just hand it off and you could stay busy working on the current project?
Yeah, actually, pretty much they came to us asking if we wanted to do physical editions of Urban Animal, and I don't know how you feel about this thing, but treating Kickstarter basically as a pre-order thing rather than something to fund the actual production of the thing, where at the time we launched the campaign, Urban Animal, the material, the guts for the book were pretty much already done. It just needed to be put together and published. And then we basically treated the campaign as a means for people to order the book. And that'll be the same logic that we're applying for the volumes moving forward. We're planning to do 5 volumes, and this campaign is for the second one. And it's really valuable to us that people know that the guts of the book are pretty much done. They can read it for free on Webtoon.
Sure.
But like if they want the physical copy, they just support the campaign and they'll get a book in a couple of months, because they don't need to wait a year, half a year for the production to actually be done.
I honestly think that's the only way you should do it. I've had too many people. I think there's a few things. Eric and I have talked about this in length. There's a few issues with having a Kickstarter to raise money to then go work on the book. Yeah. I've never seen the book get done in a timely manner after that. And then you've forgotten about it. And sure, you're going to get it, but I think you've hurt your brand in that situation.
Yeah, we don't need to name names, but yeah, it happens.
And then I know artists who ran Kickstarters, made the money, never did the book, and then they couldn't. Or they did it much later, but then the money was gone and they couldn't publish it because they didn't have money. They had to run a second Kickstarter to publish a book. I mean, I know one artist who ran 3 Kickstarters for the same book. I don't know why people kept giving money to them, but I know it damaged his reputation a good bit, as it should have. So, I mean, I think the way you're handling it is the way to do it. Handle it as a pre-order system and have the book done or near done before you launch. I think that's important.
Yeah. And the hope is that each campaign is going to do better than the last, because we will offer all previous volumes along with the new volume for that campaign. You know what I'm saying? Like with the campaign for volume 2, we will also be offering volume 1 as a reward.
That's where I wanted to go. My next question would have been like, what are the products other than the official volume 2? You have other extra stuff, or feel free not to talk about it if you want to keep it as a surprise. But
well, we always do stretch goals. I believe that's what you're asking about. So, Urban Animal is a story that is targeted towards primarily teenagers. I believe our fan base is like 13 to 25, that age range. So the periffs, we like to call it, the peripherals that those people mentioned.
He just intervenes just to be an asshole. That's the only way you know
who Eric is? Eric's the 2 old Muppets combined into one. He's sitting up in
to be fair, I did say that to elicit a response specifically from him. I know what triggers him. So the periffs that we're offering is like
say it again.
Like
stop fucking
posters.
Saying it. It's 2 extra syllables. You know what I mean? You don't have to say it.
Posters, prints. You got mouse pads, and I don't know who among you are anime fans. I know Eric is, but who else? I'm not sure. We're offering. The plan is to offer dakimakuras. Are you familiar with those, Shawn?
No, what's that?
No, what's that?
It's waifu pillows.
Okay.
So that's a very interesting periff that we're excited to offer as a stretch.
We lost her. You did it. Congratulations.
So yeah, the hope eventually, and it of course it depends on the money that we raise, the support level. The hope is to eventually have like statuettes or whatever, little vinyl figures.
Was that a stretch goal you'll have?
Eventually, man. We have a lot of characters and we have a lot of cool looking monsters. So eventually that's something that we would really like to do. But it's a hope. It's a dream, of course.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Why stretch goals?
What do you mean?
As in, so there's a thing that I always challenge the guys on whenever we talk about what feels to be organic, what feels to be natural in doing things, not the least of which, like, some of the processes that's happening behind the scenes as far as this podcast, right?
Yeah.
I am not a proponent of just like doing something because multiple campaigns previous have been putting out stretch goals or have kind of used that formula, right? It's effectively, at least from my limited perspective, I'm open to hear a conversation about it
Yeah.
It's almost like the gamifying of a campaign. You're like, ooh, get us closer. Hey, you guys, we're ramping. And some people are like, I want to be part of the crew that gets you over the finish line of a particular stretch goal. My question is, why the stretch goal? Has it proven to be, as far as like your experience and your data that you saw in the first campaign, has it proven to be super successful for you by offering it in that capacity, or not just like offering it all at once?
Yeah, first of all, you're absolutely right. It is 100% a sort of gamifying of this campaign of like, we're basically just asking money to help us print the book. But if you help us spread the word, there's an incentive, right? Because like if you're a fan of Urban Animal and the money that you put into the campaign to support us is enough to order a book for yourself, that's cool. That's excellent. Thank you so much for your support. But if you spread the word and tell your friends about it, that gives us more resources to actually give you more rewards if you're interested in that. You know what I mean? Like, so that it's essentially an incentive for people to want to support more and spread the word for us, per se. So does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, by unlocking that stretch goal, that item is now available to the people who were there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Eric, you asked that question. I want to know your thoughts on stretch goals, because I'm sure you've done some research into it too. And you didn't have stretch goals, right?
For Arcathena?
I think
in life in general, you never had stretch goals.
Yeah, I have no goals. I'm just like, I barely show up here emotionally, mentally
during this podcast. His first stretch goal
just by accident. Shawn let me. This is as far as I go. As a matter of fact, I just go like, man, just make it to the podcast and call the rest of the week done. I'm not a huge proponent of it. I think I am not a fan of like gamifying the thing. I would rather, make it, again, this is just me. I'm not diminishing it, right? That's why I always ask, is it working for you? And at the end of the day, that's what I'm getting at. Is it working for you because you have a clear understanding of how to pull on that lever? Or is it just something that people are utilizing? And I say you in a general way.
Yeah.
Or people are utilizing because they've seen a bunch of other people and they don't even know if it works for them, because potentially what it does is it could be a tool that's not really reflective of the thing that you're trying to do. You're just doing it because everyone else is doing it, and it doesn't benefit your campaign. As a matter of fact, it could be counterproductive to your campaign. You start talking about all these stretch goals that you don't meet. The perception, to Shawn's point, the brand is like, oh, that didn't meet its stretch goal. Ultimately, how many people are really into, supporting this campaign? So when you said earlier, hey, we had, the devil's number for backers. And by the way, you're welcome. I paid for easily 500, 600 of those people to come in.
Thank you, Eric.
Did you see that they immediately withdrew their backing after like 500? We got you to, the head count is what matters. The money ultimately doesn't matter. So like the other question that I wanted to ask was like, as you got into the 600 space, or, into the final tally.
Yeah. 666.
How much of the, no, stop saying it out loud. So after you got into that space, is your goal to effectively beat that number moving forward? Is it like,
that's the hope, right?
The second part is, of that 600, how many of those do you know were, and that, the term isn't accurate, but like regular fans of Urban Animal who wanted to see it in print? Or was there a broader audience reach that wouldn't have bought it, or that did buy it, outside of the awareness of it through webtoons?
That's a good question.
Wait,
sure.
Before you answer, you guys. I've been paying attention this entire time. Go suck up. Go ahead.
And by this entire time, it means the last 5 minutes.
That's being generous.
I literally said something from like 15, 20 minutes ago. Knock it off. Go ahead, John.
It's a good question, and I'm sure somebody has the numbers, right? But I feel like there's no actual way to tell. Just in the same way, there's no actual way to tell in the direct market comics. You don't know exactly how many books are being published, how many books are being ordered, how many books are being sold, right? With the Kickstarter, we definitely know that we are selling the books to people with credit cards, or at least to parents, children's parents with credit cards. Primarily, our fan base on the Webtoon app is mostly teenagers. So we don't know how many of that translates to people supporting the campaigns. But I'm sure there's a crossover to be spoken of. I just don't know the numbers specifically.
Yeah, I think that's one of the bigger challenges of reaching out to somebody like there's a general benefit of having an infrastructure like Rocket Ship in place, because they do so much heavy lifting pre and post campaign, right?
Yes.
I think I'd be the part that I wouldn't feel comfortable with is not knowing that data. Does that make any sense? There is an invaluable concept to like understanding these people are built-in fans. These are great, but in as far as people who are not typically buying the book either via webtoons or whatever it is, in what capacity these guys are going to go do their crowdfunding, I am a huge proponent of understanding that what's outside of that bubble, you know?
Yeah.
Because if I know that, I know how to take that momentum and keep pressing on that button for campaign 2, campaign 3, campaign 4, right? So there's always this balance with me to be like, that made my life significantly easier, but by doing so, I lost transparency and understanding of like what my audience base is, right? But I think there's ways that you can supplement an understanding. And the reason why I'm kind of bearing down on it, especially in this new space of like, and this is the one thing I'll push back on what you just said earlier, was like, there's really no way to know. I think I agree with that in part, but there's better ways of understanding, right? Like you can go dig a little bit, not the least, you know, like the simple, potentially inaccurate way of doing it is like, how many of the people that have bought my book, you know, how many of you didn't hear about it until this campaign, or whomever it is that told you about it, you know, and ways to incentivize that as well. Because as much of that as you can get, it's so significantly useful the more of these that you do.
Yeah.
And there goes that echo again.
And I think, there is an echo again. But with the second campaign, obviously we'll be able to see.
It's definitely Mattteo.
Yeah, I can see my thing, my square lighting up, and I'm not talking, so it means that there's an echo.
It's your speakers, I think.
I don't know what to do. No, it's the problem is that basically I can feel like I can see that I'm delayed because you react to what I say like a couple of seconds later or 1 second later. So that's the main problem. But I've been having this problem for this last like 4 episodes or so since we changed to.
Are you hardwired in, Mattteo?
Was that?
Are you hardwired in now?
Yeah, and I am not on Wi-Fi, so this time I'm.
You turned off your Wi-Fi?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Shawn, we're just gonna screech to a fucking halt in regards to this interview as we work out Matteo's technical issues.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I can.
Is there a way to
mute my microphone? Here.
There's a mute button.
Let me see.
Eric can do it.
Let me try this one.
There, he did it. He fixed it.
All right, I fixed it. Okay, awful. You can go, guys.
No, now it's broken again.
I think to address the point that you were bringing up, Eric, I think what's really going to be helpful to us with the second campaign is seeing how many of the same names, how many of the same people are ordering the second book, so we can actually solidify how many repeat customers we have per se. And then, does
your fulfillment company do they have like an exit survey? Because I know I've contributed to campaigns where there's a survey at the end where you can ask these questions and get some data.
Yeah, they do have that, and that's definitely available to us. I don't remember when I saw it, but I definitely have already. It's been 3 years since the first campaign, so it's been a while. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Eric mentioned that Rocket Ship does a lot of the heavy lifting before and after the campaign. They make our book available in like Barnes and Noble, Amazon. So they have definitely done their part in spreading the word about the book. And
are they based in the U.S.?
Yeah, they're in Portland, I believe. That's their HQ.
Yuck.
Can you express an opinion regarding all the, the stretch goals and all that stuff? Like, to me, I think that it benefits the campaign in general, generally speaking, because it gives you like the impression that the person who's running the campaign is constantly active. Gives you this idea of there's constantly somebody behind a computer that thinks about new things to offer and stuff like that. While instead, if you do a simple campaign, like, hey guys, here's my book, you pay X amount of money and you get this, and you pay, a little extra and you get 2 books. Bye-bye. See you in a month. All right.
Yeah.
It looks
let me translate what Matteo just said. When you order Arc Athena, you get your book, and then bye-bye. See you next month.
Well,
I think that's what he's saying.
See you next year.
At the end of the day, I guess it depends on the kind of fans that you have, right? I don't know what kind of fans you guys were when you were kids, but like when you were an X-Men fan, did you want to have X-Men t-shirts or X-Men caps? So I guess with Urban Animal and our periffs that we're offering, our rewards and our stretch goals that we're offering pins, mouse pads, a lot of other tchotchkes per se. So we want to make things available for the fans that actually want specific things. There's the main cast in Urban Animal, they have a rock band in the story. So one of the rewards that was performing surprisingly well in the first campaign was the Urban Animal themed guitar picks that we were offering.
Oh,
and
that's
we
awesome.
were super surprised that people ordered a lot of those and they really enjoyed it. And we'll be bringing those back in the second campaign along with like trading cards and stuff. So we're really thinking, I guess, about the fanboys and fangirls who enjoy the little tchotchkes, and we just, if they want it, we're going to offer it to them, I guess is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's a short interview. Thank you for being here, John. We'll talk to you later. Typically have people on for an hour. These guys ran out of questions.
No, John, I did want to follow up on that. So what do you call the merch? What's the word you use?
Knock it off.
The periffs?
Yeah, that word.
Yeah.
Eric, you got that? The periffs. Are those only stretch goals, or you have like tiers where you can get a book and a pin or a book and a pick? Are those offered without stretch goal?
That's an excellent question, Shawn. People can actually check out the campaign right now on Kickstarter to see specifically what those stretch goals are, because I don't know what they are in specific in the different tiers. But right now, literally, as we're recording this, it's 1 week before the campaign goes live. I am still putting those rewards together, right?
Okay,
So I'm
cool,
drawing the prints, I'm drawing the bookmarks and stuff. So yeah.
So you're still figuring out the periffs.
Yeah.
Man, it's all about the periffs, after all, right? Right, Eric?
Matteo, are you going to get your periffs ready for your campaign?
I'm going to call him
Eric is just in pain.
You're going to call him what?
Air, not Eric. Air.
Don't.
The abbreviation of Eric.
Why air?
Air. Like periffs, air.
I heard him. So let's. I heard him try that joke, and as soon as it left his mouth, I could see on the video there was a moment. He was like, "Don't say that joke again." There was an internal monologue that was like, "That didn't land." Right?
You know what happened, Eric?
Another part of him was just like, screw it. Let's just go. Let's just do it again.
It's too good to let go.
What happened was he went into dumb shark mode. If you saw, his pupils just went black and he spit the joke out.
Listen, Jamie, can you do the rewind, effect and go right into that clip where right after he said that joke, there was that brief needle skip in his brain where he's like, no, we should not do that joke again.
I'm going to call him Air. No, I won't.
Call him what?
Air, not Eric. Air.
Don't.
Yeah.
Please, Jamie.
That was a
please,
dumb joke.
Please make it happen.
Anyway, continue with the frickin' periffs already. Go
You gotta
ahead.
do a record scratch in the middle of the thought process.
Well,
there.
actually, John, I did want to ask you with the company involved with running the campaign.
Yeah.
How much, when the campaign's live, how much work are you having to do to promote? Are you actively promoting every day, or are you just relying on them to do that?
Well, we don't need to per se, because they're definitely doing their part, but like we want the campaign to be successful too, obviously. So, you know, they don't pressure us into promoting it. We just do it ourselves also. So
right.
I post stuff on Instagram and stories, and whoever is not annoyed by me posting it will see it. You know, I haven't been on Instagram in a couple of months. I don't know what it's like over there now, if it's all AI ladies or whatever. But yeah, people who follow me will see the stories about the Kickstarter. So,
have you been actively staying away from Instagram on purpose, or you're just busy?
Not on purpose. It's just that I don't feel a pull to Instagram. I don't know if it's the same for you guys. I barely see people's art who I actually follow because of the ads and stuff. Is it the same for you?
I usually see.
Who are you talking to, John?
Anya, the royal you.
The general, the royal. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Shawn, Mattteo?
no, to be honest with you, what I saw in the last, but I think we talked about it recently, probably in private or here on one of the episodes. Like I've seen in the last, I would say year and a half, like I saw a difference, and all of a sudden, because, you know, probably Instagram was promoting a kind of different behavior for users, just by, you know, and by that I mean doing more reels and stuff like that. So they were promoting that kind of activeness, which I'm not, you know, I'm not a big fan of. Like personally, I don't like the reason why I love Instagram in the first place is that it was a quick way to, you know, just post a picture of a piece I just did, and for years I gained a lot of followers. And now I've seen it like slow down, like terribly. Like now,
Eric,
in order to get like something like 1,000 followers, I need to post like, I don't know, like 20 or 30 things straight for a whole month or month and a half. While before, once I had, you know, a couple of pieces, I would post them and I'll gain like 2,000 followers like that. It's changed a lot, and so I don't know.
Eric, did you see what he did there?
No,
I'm
I
just
stopped
curious.
paying attention right around the time he says.
John
we talked
asked about
this.
our viewership on Instagram. Matteo went right into his, I'm getting followers, I'm posting my artwork.
Sorry, no, I didn't. What does viewership means? Like
he was asking about when you look through, when you scroll through it, are you seeing artwork or ads?
But this was a language problem. I didn't know what it was.
Yes, Shawn.
Yeah, if you believe that, I got something else for you.
You know, recently, I gotta say, like, there's been a time in which I got only reels, so mainly comedians that I follow. And then all of a sudden, I don't know why, like I started complaining about Instagram and blah, 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 because I wasn't seeing any of the simple like artists' pictures and stuff. All of a sudden, like boom, a lot of pictures. And now I have a kind of mix between the two. I got some reels and some images from artists. So it's a sort of 50-50, I would say.
Yeah, but it certainly doesn't feel like how it used to. Something's definitely changed.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
See,
changed.
for me, I don't feel a change. I mean, it's reels and not pictures. That's the change I see. But I'm seeing reels of artists the same way I saw pictures from artists before.
Yeah, Shawn, but I think that all between the four of us, you're the one who really, adapted to this new version of Instagram. And probably you're the one who's benefiting more by this change because you're willing to post, process videos and stuff, all the, brush techniques and stuff. So what is he doing?
He's putting a lens he's putting, is that what he went and ordered what Sia had, I bet.
What is that? He's doing a.
He's putting a polarizing filter on.
Yeah.
No, it's putting a
Suggesting
filter that
the
gives
field,
him
you think?
hair.
I don't think it's working, Eric.
I don't think. Okay, sorry. Yeah, neither hair nor filter.
Hmm. But
Yeah, so I agree, Mattteo. I mean, when I decided to learn how to do reels and use Instagram better, I put a lot of energy into that and saw a tremendous amount of growth. And I think my interaction with Instagram hasn't changed much because of that.
Here's what I'm wondering, and you tell me if this is a dumb thought. Do you think the artists that we follow are posting less in general?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, and I think also maybe some artists aren't posting less, but they're just posting pictures still, and the algorithm promotes reels over pictures.
Yeah.
So I think it might be a combination of the two.
There's this dude that I always see whenever I do check Instagram. It's Inkpulp, and he does this process stuff. It's pretty good. The guy's pretty good. You heard of him, Shawn?
It's kind of good. He's learning. You know, it will take time, but he's probably young by the way that he draws. You know, it's pretty naive and stuff like that. So probably like 15 years old, but you know, I see some talent there.
Yeah.
So probably in 20 years,
I follow this cocky motherfucker. He doesn't hardly ever post, and then when he does, it's like 50 images all in the same day, and it's so obnoxious. It's like he's saying to you, the royal artist has arrived, you may look upon my art.
And then
I'm going to
not only
disappear.
that, I think he complains after because he's not gaining new followers. I think that's what he does. Yeah, at the end,
Is it scary?
every time I complain, even with my girlfriend and stuff, like I always say at the end, I close the whole thing with, but you know, I gotta admit, I'm not the best Instagram user at all. So, you know, if I was the Mr. Instagram, I wouldn't reward Matteo Scalera for sure as a model user.
Mr. Instagram.
Yeah.
Mr. Instagram.
Yeah, isn't it the name?
Mr. Instagram.
It's Jimmy Instagram, right? That's where it comes from, right?
I can't change your name. I hate the fact that I can't change your name to Mr.
Say Jimmy.
To
Jimmy
Mr.
IG.
Yeah.
Jimmy Instagram.
That is
Mattteo, in
hilarious.
your campaigns, do you have what good looks like by the end of it?
What do you mean?
What is the
Boundary?
win condition, quote unquote?
I guess the win condition. Well, at the end of the day, I just want to get the book out there, right? But personally, I would like to hit a higher number of orders than the first campaign, and I would like the numbers to go up.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be significant. I just want more. It can be 667
667
this time. Yeah. I'll be happy with that.
with
But
no
like,
returns, right?
if people continue to support it and hopefully order the first volume with the second volume, like that speaks to, I'm not trying to compare myself to this, but it speaks to a same growing fandom as like The Walking Dead, where like every trade was doing better than the previous one for a while there. So like that wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't complain about that, you know?
Yeah. Maddie, you've yet to launch your campaign, but have you ever thought about that? What the win condition is, if there is one?
What do you mean by what the win condition is?
The win condition for John, you know, when no, more like the ideal bar that you'd like to reach, right? In John's case, he's saying, if I get 667 as opposed to 666, I think that's pretty good, which generally it means there's more people reading the book and ordering it. In your case, having never done it before, if you have a theoretical sort of win condition, what does that look like?
Oh, okay, shit. I would say, okay, let me think. I got to do some math because
Just Jamie, turn the podcast into slow motion right now.
Okay, as Matteo's thinking, Shawn, you have something, right? You have something locked in. What's
you
your
do the thing and I'll think about it.
Let Matteo do the thinking in his whatever 56K dial-up speed that he's doing for his friggin' internet right now. Shawn, you go.
I have to recalibrate. Initially with my art books, the win was hitting a certain number of like we made this much. With instruction, it wasn't a financial, I want to make this much. It was, I want to have this many, let's call them students of Inkpulp instruction by the end. So I'm thinking more specifically about what I'm offering on each campaign that will help me understand what my goal is. If that makes sense.
No, it's too vague. Tell me. Go into it.
So let's say I'm doing an art book next, which will probably be my next campaign. Or no, let's say I'm gonna kickstart my comic, like what Matteo's about to do.
Yeah.
My goal, I wouldn't be thinking about I want to make a certain amount of money. I'd be thinking about I want to get my book into as many hands as possible. So I'd look at my Instagram followership, my TikTok, all my social media platforms. And I tried, and I think there's some good, I've read some good articles and there's some good YouTubes on percentages of like how many followers you have versus how many fans who will buy. I think it's like 10% is generally the number to hit. So I would want to
actually that's misleading. Okay. Let me amend that for those people who are listening to this part. The ideal number is 10%, right? The ideal number of people who will probably buy into whatever it is that you're selling is around 10%. If you can hit 10%, phenomenal. But that's like the general
10%
number
of what?
Of your social media followers. So 100,
your social media
100
followers.
people, if you can get
gotcha.
Correct. So if you can get 10 of them to buy in, that would be great. That's actually that's considered to be quote unquote successful. But rarely is it ever going to be 10%. So continue, Shawn. I just don't want people listening to that
let me add something.
I didn't.
Of all the followers, not all of your followers will see the stuff that you post. Like
exactly, and that's the reason why. That's the reason why people are saying 10%. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly. So that the point that I was trying to make was that as ideal as 10% would be, which would be considered to be pretty successful for somebody, that scale slides, right? Depending where you are from 100 followers to 100,000 followers, it doesn't, 10% is what you're aiming for. However, it's not a given. And number two, there's a crossover between do not add up all of your social media, which means there's a ton of people who are following you who are also the same people who are following you on Instagram. Sorry, Shawn, continue. 10%.
So this gets into what you're talking about now, gets into my goals with social media. My goals with social media are to raise engagement more than I'm looking to gain followers. So, and the reason for that is when I do launch campaigns, it means hopefully I'll be able to get my stuff in front of more eyes than I would have not having done that. So then what's that?
It's the long game.
Yeah, that's the game I'm playing. So
all right, Matty, you had time to think.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I can give you a specific number, but I'm gonna tell you the way I reason. All right. So the way I reason is this. Let's suppose that the book that I'm working on, all right now, is gonna be like 160, 170 pages. All right. So it's more or less a year of something of work. All right. And so if overall with the campaign or the campaigns, if I divide, the book, it's going to be 5 books, 5 floppies, I would say. So if I have 5 campaigns or a single campaign for the whole thing, all right? Anyways, my goal is for this campaign to make the same amount of money, at least, that I will make in that same amount of time by doing other work, like for DC or Marvel. Let's say I make $100,000 a year, all right? So I should be able to make $100,000 with this book.
Working on the book.
Yeah. Which, because
that expectation
sorry, we're saying?
No, go ahead, dude. This would mean, what were you saying?
This will mean that I'm self-sufficient as an artist. Like I can do this forever because I can make the same amount of money that I would do by working with, Marvel or DC or in general having a publisher. So it's it's a self-fulfilling thing that I can go on and on. So from now on, I can leave just and pay my bills and whatever I have to pay for. just by keeping inventing stories and drawing them and so on. You know? So
It's the
Well, let
dream,
me
right?
ask you, Matteo, if that's your model, are you going to be offering? Will the book be available after the campaign on a website as well,
I
or will it
think
only be
Before-
available
Maddie,
through Kickstarter?
Maddie, before you answer that, okay, and that's actually that's a great question, because that talks about like keeping it evergreen and accessible to people who potentially didn't get a chance to get it the first time that they had the campaign. I think there's a lot of people who are in whatever stage they are in their career who listen to this podcast. I think 50% of them are paid for, but the other 50% are genuinely invested in understanding, like from a professional perspective, right? Like our experiences. What I think somewhere in the middle there, the signal gets lost, right? What Matteo's, his calculation, right, is to say, based on where he is in his career right now, and his current expectation of his work and the kind of money that he is making, and in order to make this well, there were hundreds and millions of them who potentially the 10% of them who are willing to pay for his work. What he's saying is that based on my expectation of myself, my work currently, my position in my professional career, and obviously my needs, my financial needs during the year, with the overall umbrella of like I can do this now full time. Those are the numbers that he came up with, or those are the guiding principles that lead him into the decisions that he is going to make. It is by no means the all-encompassing thing that you should do depending on where you are in your career. You've heard the whole spectrum of considerations when we're talking about what good looks like. Shawn is just like, I want to make sure that, I reach as many people as possible, potentially based on this, this algorithmic game that Instagram and social media plays with his outreach and his overall engagement. John is saying, hey, just based on what I understand from the first campaign, anything more than that looks good for me. So somewhere in there, potentially is where you could land, right? I don't think one is better than the other.
Oh yeah,
one
no,
is
absolutely.
one of those is any one of those is adaptable to where you are currently. And by the way, even if you're just starting out, if you decide to take Matteo's position, which is, I know I want to make this sustainable, I make X amount at my regular 9-to-5 job, therefore I need to make X much. But it does not mean you have failed because that you didn't cross that finish line when you're using Matteo's model. It just goes to show that I think if you set your target correctly, and by target, I mean like the end goal and what good looks like, based on where you are, put that expectation slider right in front of you. Hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell 600 plus units, but I do know, just based on my understanding of my follower account, I should be able to sell this much. Let's go stress test the heck out of that. All right, continue, man. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Making books available offline.
I completely agree with you. And it's the same thing that happens when, for example, either on social media or at shows, some other artists, like young artists, they ask me like, oh, what pen do you use, or pencils, or what's your working method? I mean, I'm only going to describe the thing that I use now, and because now it's what I like using because I'm doing this specific research. And I'm not going to necessarily be using it forever. And this is what I do, but that doesn't mean that this is the right thing to do. So if you ask me because you're curious, I'll be more than happy to answer. But please don't take this as, okay, if you want to have this specific quality, this is what you need to use, And it's the same with the campaign. Like I'm at a point where I want to test this thing to see if it allows me to make the same amount of money every year, without having to work with Marvel, DC. And this doesn't necessarily mean that I'm planning on leaving DC or Marvel. I'm just curious to test the ground and see how it works,
Yeah. And keep in mind, the question was not, are you going to be able to do that? That wasn't the question. The question was, what does good look like for you? Right.
Yeah.
And to your point, you're stress testing the whole thing. And you're like, if this is sustainable, right? If I could make a living out of this annually, and this is the only thing I exclusively do, that would be great. that's probably going to get tempered by your actual experience once you launch the book. It doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it so like, I would like to have this. Some people might be out there who have had significantly more experience than you. Like, whoa, bro, that's a tiny bit naive. But that wasn't the question that I asked. The question is like, what does good look like for you? You know? Yeah. And the reason why I bring this, and one of the better reasons why I bring this up, because I remember, and I think you guys were walking down the aisle with me, I don't recall, but we were walking up and down New York Comic Con, right? And New York, I think, is a great litmus test of where people are in their careers, whether it be either recognizability, quality of craft, and just generally their ability to move sales. I remember when we were walking down the aisle and everybody was standing up, because that's a really good sort of like engagement tool to be like standing up and talking to people as they walk by. I remember this one particular young lady who said, "Hey, would you like to come and take a look at this thing that I worked on?" And I said, "Oh, no, thank you." And I just remember her like almost, crying it out loud. She was like, "But I worked so hard," when I said, "No, thank you," and it broke my heart. I think about it now. In the moment, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's really profound, almost embarrassing." But right now I think about that, I'm like, it breaks my heart to think that young lady worked her butt off, and for somebody to say no. Now the cynical part of me was like, toughen up, not everybody's going to love your stuff. But the mentorship side of me wants to say, not everybody's going to love your stuff. And that's all right. Like, set up what good looks like for you moving forward, which is potentially, hey, you've never done that show before. Now you're doing that show and you're actually trying to engage with an audience. And some of them will say no, but maybe it stops at that water's edge, which is, I've never done this before, right? Yeah. I want to learn what it's like to engage with an audience and sell my product, and understand this is a learning experience for me. To your point, Mattteo, it is a learning. It was going to be a learning experience for you. John, you're coming at it from a perspective of like, I typically do this from a webtoons perspective, primarily, if not predominantly digital, right? Yeah. But now you're trying to see how you'll do in print, and there's any sort of longevity there, So set your goal, and be aware of the slider that's at your disposal.
Yeah. Well, I think my win condition for this has a very significant overlap with Shawn's in that sense, because I would like for my reach as a creator outside of Urban Animal to grow as well.
I think we're all saying that in different ways. I mean, yeah, Mattteo wants to make sure financially he's taken care of, but again, it's about having the readership that can support his life.
Yeah, your 10,000 fans, your 10,000 loyal fans, not just followers.
Exactly.
Okay, listen, I got stuff to do. We've been doing this for freaking an hour already. John, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you so much.
You guys, I'm going to hit the stop button now, and then I'm going to hang up on all of you. John,
we shouldn't close the window yet, right?
You shouldn't? Well,
yeah, you should. Mattteo shouldn't close the window. Now. This is all different.
No. I'm just saying, just wait for the footage to upload. Matteo's going to take time. Yep. All right, guys, we'll do this again. John, thanks again for hanging out.
Thank you, boys.
Shawn,
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. We'll talk later.
This is the Inkpulp podcast. This is the Inkpulp podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.